So Andre, the board want to extend their thanks to you for the work you did in the transfer window.
Well, hold on, Gina. Why is Andre getting the plaudits for this? I mean, I signed him, I sold him.
The player was under 21.
Well, just because he's under 21 doesn't mean he's come through a youth intake or anything like that. I mean, Andre's had nothing to do with this guy. Why is he getting all the plaudits?
It's just the way the club works.
What do you mean it's just the way the club works? So I'm not being recognised for any of this talent acquisition, any of the negotiation skills. I've done all this.
I don't make the rules, I'm sorry.
Alright, I can't... Why does it always work out like this? Look how smug he is. I hate you sometimes, Andre. Hello and welcome back to the Wrexham Way. Hope you're all doing well today and looking forward to today's episode as we take on Rotherham. Should be a pretty good game, but we also take on top of the table Ipswich Town. Sadly, in between episodes, we've not been able to get back on top. Anyway, before we get into these games, there's a lot to talk about. And I think the first thing we need to talk about is selling players, because that's what's happened over January. There's been a little bit more movement than I was expecting. Now, you may recall last episode, some contracts were coming up for renewal in the next 6 months, and one of those players was Brandon Cover. And he had no interest in signing a new contract with us. So Bristol City came knocking on the door. I think they put up about £100,000 up front, 100 down the line, spread over like 3 years. And then I think it was almost another £100,000 in appearance fees or something like that. Knowing that he wasn't going to sign a new contract, and if we didn't sell him in January, we were going to lose him on a free transfer, I had to sell him. I had to sell Brandon Cover. So we negotiated the deal and we got it up to £500,000 in total. £400,000 guaranteed, about 300 up front, 100 down the line, and then £100,000 after, I think, 10 league appearances, which he may or may not get. So it's guaranteed to be £400,000, but it might reach £500,000 down the line. Currently so far, though, he's in the under-23 squad and hasn't made a single appearance in the Championship for them. But he might make money in the future for us when he does eventually, hopefully, play for Bristol City. This obviously left us in the lurch because the one player that we have to replace him is Ben Lloyd from Swansea, who is still out with a broken leg, and we can't cancel his loan because that's part of the... We just can't do it. It's not part of a deal, which is really frustrating. So this guy has been at the club all season doing nothing and still can't do anything for most of the rest of the season. So obviously we want to bring someone permanent in, which would be ideal, but the scouts hadn't really found anyone good enough to come in permanently, so we went back to the loan market and we brought in a familiar face. Welcome back to the club, Carney, who was on loan with us last season and had a great season with us, to be fair. Almost a 7 rating, 4 goals, 10 assists in League 2. Pretty good going, and he's been here since mid-January or so and has got 1 goal, 1 assist so far, so not bad going. The only downside with this is it is a bit of a panic buy because there wasn't really anyone available to us on the scouting and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, he's a great player. There's no panic buying in terms of him being a very good player. The panic buy comes with us having to pay him £8,000 a week in wages. Luckily, it's only for half a season. There was also a little bit more movement in the transfer window. I told you I wanted to get rid of Shamanga, and that's the only player I sort of anticipated leaving the club. The Brandon Cover deal came a little bit out of the blue. But Southend swooped in. They wanted him for £60,000, and considering his contract was up at the end of the season, I think £60,000 was a good bit of business for us. Yes, he was a great player for us, 13 goals in League 2, most of them off the bench, to be fair. Most of his appearances were from the bench. Same in League 1, to be fair, 6 goals and 22 for a player that's maybe not quite at League 1 level, I thought was pretty good going. So to get 60 grand back from the 145 that we spent on him, I think is well worth the money. 50 games in the league he played for us, and he got 19 goals in that time. It's nothing amazing, but it's still very useful. So good luck, Shamanga. Thanks for all your hard work, and hopefully you can get Southend promoted. Obviously, what that means is that Rob Street is now in and amongst our first team, and he's played 3 games so far. 3 starts, 2 starts and 1 off the bench, or 3 starts, 1 came off in 1 game, but hasn't played brilliantly, I must say. But he's still settling into the team a little bit. So, 2 players out, 1 player in, but there's one more transfer to talk about. And we start the story off with Bryce Hosanna, our right wing back, who has broken his ankle and is out for 2 to 3 months. It was 2 to 4 months. He's done about a month or so now. So, still out for a little while. Most likely the rest of the season for Bryce Hosanna, who of course is our best right wing back. He is absolutely superb. I'll be honest, after falling out with Liam Shepherd, I wasn't really keen on playing him at wing back, if I'm honest with you. So we've brought someone in an emergency. Welcome to the club, Finn Stevens. He is a right back in on loan from Brentford. He's coming here for free. We're not paying him any wages, which is beautiful. So imagine we're paying him $4 a week and Carney $4 a week. That maybe makes you feel a little bit better about it. But has actually played 9 games in the Premier League for Brentford, which I think is pretty good going. So if he can play Premier League games for Brentford, he can play League One games for us. So he'll be here for the rest of the season. He's a pretty good player. Probably not as good as Bryce Hosanna actually, but has the potential to be better in the future maybe. So when does the contract expire with Brentford? At the end of this season. So if he does play well, and he's 20 years old with potential, he could be a good one to sign, you know. So actually it's a good loan spell, this one. And they are the changes to the team. So Brandon Cover gone. Also gone is Shamanga. In is Finn Stevens, and in is Carney, both on loan. Another player nearly left the club, and his name is Jim McBangold. Because you won't believe me, but you have to because the screenshot's on the screen right now. We had £1 million bid for him on deadline day. Now obviously £1 million comes in for Jim McBangold, and I'm like, whoa, this is serious money for a 20-year-old player that we've got who, I mean, I'll be honest, £1 million is a lot. Double his valuation, essentially. I didn't want to accept it, but I felt like we kind of had to. But because this is obviously pre-recorded on YouTube and I kind of wanted your guys' opinion on it, I put a tweet out about it. You may have seen it a few days ago. So I put it on Twitter and I thought, right, I'll leave it 20 minutes or so. I'll go make some snacks and get a drink and then come back, see what the replies say and decide then if I should sell him. Came back, most of the replies on Twitter said sell him. So I thought, okay, that's, probably a good deal to take. However, you'll notice from the screenshot, it was very late in the day on deadline day. And as I sat back down at my computer, I kind of had forgotten about the whole situation. So I just pressed continue. And then deadline day finished and the deal got cancelled because deadline day had finished. And so essentially because of me wanting to get your guys' opinion, but sort of losing concentration in that 20-minute time, nothing happened with him. So he's still at the club, and actually I'm quite glad he's still at the club, because if clubs want to bid £1 million now, imagine in a season's time, a season and a half's time, how much they'll bid for him. So Jim's still at the club, still has a terrible disciplinary record this season, so many yellow cards and red cards and suspensions. But you know what, we love him, and he's going to make us a lot of money one day. So that's all the transfer news. There's one more bit of news we'll go through before we check in as to what's happened in between episodes. I had to update you on the transfers, otherwise you'd see players scoring goals who are like new to the club and you'd be like, whoa, who are they? But technically, we could be on for a third takeover in 3 seasons. If you include the Ryan Reynolds takeover basically at the start of this game, right? He was in charge for season 1. The current board have been in charge for season 2 and part of this season 3. But there's more news articles talking about transfer takeovers or board takeovers, so there could be another one coming. Hopefully, if it is going to happen, it's not going to be during a transfer window, because that would be terrible. But we can now finally go through what's happened since you guys were last here for the Charlton and Crewe games, and we've done pretty well for the most part. 4 wins, 2 draws and a loss, which is a bit surprising. But we started off with a 2-1 win over Accrington Stanley, bottom of the table at the time. We only just won, scoring 2 goals pretty late on in that game to secure the win. The game against Derby County, 0-0. Oliver Street sent off after 32 minutes. We did a good job to actually stay in that game and make sure we didn't drop a point, which was quite nice. Leyton Orient, a Paul Mullen penalty was all we had in that game to separate the 2 teams. So actually these 3 games could have easily been losses for us. The Accrington game, we left it late. Derby, 10 men, really maybe should have lost. And the Leyton Orient game, a penalty. Very lucky to pick up the 3 points in that one. Northampton was a nice win. Northampton, I think, were 23rd in the table at the time, and this one was a great result for Carney, getting his first goal back at the club in that game. The Wimbledon game was another one which we were lucky to get a point in. As you can see, George Alexander scoring pretty late on in that game. So really, we've been getting results. I mean, it's kind of extending back to December, essentially, where Lots of draws, very lucky not to lose games, essentially. And in this period, again, kind of lucky not to lose games or pick up points where maybe we shouldn't have picked up points, sort of thing. Following the Wimbledon game, a little bit more convincing against Lincoln City. This time around, we beat them 2-0 with George Alexander scoring in the 95th minute. But last time out, one of the worst games we played for a long time, a 2-0 loss away from home to Sunderland, ensures that we stay third in the table. We are dropping off the pace just a little bit, as you can see. MK Dons and Ipswich now level on games played with us, but we're 3 points behind MK Dons, who always seem to bottle things. You can see that they've had 2 losses in their recent game weeks as well. But it's Ipswich who are clear at the top, 8 points ahead of us. 13 games to go, plenty of time to catch up to them, but it's going to be a big ask. Also, we have to be careful looking down the table. Obviously, if we lose to Rotherham today, who are on 50 points, so 19 points behind us, probably won't challenge us at all. But they're a decent team, out of form a little bit though. The Ipswich Town game, though, could be crucial for where we finish this season. So, enough of me rambling on about various things. Let's just get into these games and see how things are going to shape up today. Chris Johns stays in goal as per usual with that usual backline of Lennon, Oliver Street and Hayden. Medford Smith stays at left wing-back, but of course Finn Stevens comes in for his first appearance on camera at right wing-back. Jem Finley and James Jones maintain their positions in the middle, with new boy but not new boy Carney starting in the attacking midfield behind Rob Street, the first time you'll see him on camera alongside Paul Mullin. So although this is, midway through the season, the team is changing, it is evolving, maybe a little bit too much for my liking mid-season, particularly when that first part of the season has been so good. But it's difficult when players want to leave the club and they've only got 6 months left in their contract and you get given a massive offer. And it's also difficult when players get injured. We have quite a few injuries right now, but the worst one, of course, is to whatever he's called, Bryce Hosanna, who normally plays at right wing back, probably out for the rest of the season, I would say. In the meantime, kick-off is upon us here today as Rotherham get things underway. Oliver Street has a terrible clearance and gives away a penalty. I think Harry Lennon gave the penalty away there. A bit of a comedy of errors, I would say, in that situation, as up steps the striker for Rotherham to make it 1-0. Not an ideal start. It's his first goal of the season. And not long after that penalty goal, Rotherham are coming forward again. Ferguson has to go back to, I presume, Thierry Small. Thierry Small is a left back who I feel gets a lot of game time in the lower leagues in Football Manager. Oh, that would have been a spectacular goal for Rotherham to score. Is it Thierry? It is Thierry Small. I can't believe I got that completely right. You love to see it. Valued at 28 to 34 million pounds. What? I was also going to say, I swear he was at Everton, but obviously he was at Everton at some point and went to Southampton, because I think we nearly signed him several times for Aberdeen, because Everton were our feeder club or parent club at that point. Hence why we always got Anthony Gordon in on loan like every single season for like 5 or 6 years, as the corner swung to the far post is put over the bar. Should also say, since the patch came out the other day for FM22, we're not scoring as many corners, which is a little bit sad, but I think the right decision, because corners were, or near post corners at least, were very overpowered. So probably need to try and find a corner routine that is a little bit better now. Any suggestions, leave them below in the comments. But as we kick off the second half here, well, things aren't looking great for us right now. Although Medford Smith, if we can get an early goal in this second half, finds Jem Finley back to Medford Smith, into Rob Street, who turns, passes to Medford Smith, across to Finn Stevens, into Street, who puts it wide off the mark. He's still looking for his first goal in Wrexham colours. We know he's good at scoring goals, maybe just not yet for Wrexham. To be fair, he has picked up a knock actually, so maybe we should be taking him off the pitch. But as you can see, our team is just not really performing today. Jem Finley having a poor game, Ollie Clark on You Come as well. I don't really feel like Rotherham have been better than us today. Like, we've seen more highlights in their favour, but it's not like they are dominating proceedings by like 20 shots to 2 shots or anything like that. They've got a lucky penalty, but we've done this quite a lot to teams. Get a lucky penalty, beat them 1-0. We've done it in between episodes. As Stevens comes forward though, have the changes been made yet? It doesn't matter, because it's not going to Rob Street in the middle right now. We've won a corner, though. Can we score a goal from... No, we can't, because the highlight finishes. So 30 minutes or so to go, 7 shots apiece. Let's go a little bit more attacking, and I'm going to shout shoot on sight. I think we need to get some more shots on the board as Stevens, go on lads, finds James Jones into Carney, and Carney gets the opening goal of the game for us to potentially rescue at least a point here as we take on Rotherham. That's before the tactical changes for shoot on sight and attacking have come into effect. So we'll leave them on for 10 minutes or so, see how they maybe affect the game. But I think this is a good start. Also, really interesting about Carney, obviously he was here last season. He still has those green connections on the formations with George Alexander and Paul Mullen. So he's coming into the team and actually playing pretty well, like connecting with the players instantly, which is really nice actually. That's what you want midway through the season, particularly when we are on a bit of a promotion push and a title challenge. And if we can score a goal late on here, this would be superb. We can't that way, but potentially through Finn Stevens right now into Carney. If Carney can find a route through to George Alexander, down to James Jones, across to Medford Smith, can we get the ball in? Mullen, his shot blocked. Oh, it's gone off. Offside. Unlucky stuff there. I think Mullen was standing in an offside position after his initial shot was saved on my line pretty much. But I'll tell you what, I feel like we could maybe feel a little bit aggrieved we've not won that game. Look at the match stats, it's actually ridiculously tight. So a draw probably is the correct result. But towards the end of that game, we had some very good chances. But this is another draw this season. You know, last season we barely got any draws, and that's why we won League Two by such a big margin. That must be our 10th draw? 10th draw of the season, it actually is. And the difference is Ipswich have turned 10 draws into 5 draws and 20 wins into 25 wins. That's the difference between the two teams right now. So heading into this next game against Ipswich in a week's time, I'm not feeling it. Also, it does say trials finish for 2 players in a week's time. These are 2 players that I am trialling right now. I don't think we'll sign them. I don't think they're actually that good. But there were 2 players available on free transfers to potentially fill that right back slot should we need them. I don't think we will need them. But just to show you them, here's Danny McNamara, who's got some good crossing and dribbling, but his physicals do let him down a little bit. League 2 player, League 1 potential, but at 25 years old, probably won't be getting those. Was recently at Philadelphia Union after leaving Millwall. And then Mohamed Drager was also with us, who has got better physicals but worse technicals. So they're both probably as good as each other, but I mean, he's National League apparently. I don't quite believe that looking at some of his attributes, but again, a player that I don't think will sign after he left at Nottingham Forest. But already the Aston Villa manager is getting cross with me for playing Carney out of position. So I have promised, I mean, they forced it on me to play him as an advanced playmaker, but in the centre of midfield, not the attacking midfield. If I wanted to change it to the attacking midfield, we'd have to pay him 65 grand a month, and I was not prepared to do that. So I may have lied a little bit, but I mean, what are they going to do? Recall him? They can't recall him outside of a transfer window. So he's here to the end of the season. So whatever happens, he's here, I think. I'm pretty sure they can't recall him outside of a transfer window at least. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But in the meantime, we'll have a word with this guy. Abelardo, is that his name? Who does he manage in real life? He's currently the manager of Alaves in real life, but gone to Villa in game. Right. Let's talk about this lad. Why he's not playing as centre mid? Well, look, he's playing lots of games. Does it really matter? He needs to play in order to develop properly. He is playing. He is playing. I've got to do what's right for my team. We're getting nowhere here, so I'll drop it. Yeah, that's right. Get out my face. He didn't actually roll over as quickly as Warnock used to do. Who did Warnock used to get cross about? Someone. I can't remember who it was now. He was manager of Middlesbrough. Who did we have on loan from Middlesbrough? Wilker Colo. That was it. Wilker Colo in on loan in Season 1 from Middlesbrough. I recall it now. Who's now actually a free agent. He's League 2 level, not good enough for us. Anyway, we're here for the Ipswich game, and I think this could be a second defeat for us in quick succession following that defeat recently off camera to Sunderland. Oh, again, look, more talk of takeovers, this time an internal takeover. I mean, the last one was an internal takeover. I'm not quite sure who's left at the club to do an internal takeover, but they keep talking about it. It keeps coming up in the news articles constantly. Anyway, for this game coming up, let's bring George Alexander back on the pitch to start instead of Rob Street. Jem Finley stays there because, where is he? Jim McBangle coming back from an injury. We'll get him on the bench, I reckon. But with other injuries and stuff like that, I don't think anyone... Ollie Clark comes off for Louis Thompson. But other than that, team is probably as good as it's going to get. So, huge game against Ipswich. If they beat us today, they'll go 13 points clear of us. And that might just hand the title to Ipswich. If we win, maybe we're back in that race a little bit. But if they win, it could be title race over for us. Good save from the keeper, Mullin. Not bad going there. Mullin not scoring too many actually in recent weeks. I think what I have seen as well on Twitter is that a few people have said that the new update has maybe nerfed strikers in general just a little bit. But I believe he is still top scorer in this division, which is not bad going. Corner for us though, James Jones into the middle, Lennon over the bar. Every time we get a corner now, I do get excited still. Like, are we cheating the system? But they're not as effective now. The good news is we seem to be playing better than we did against Rotherham. 7 shots to Ipswich's 3. It's 0-0 at half time. XG way in our favour. I reckon we could do it maybe, There is a highlight straight from the kickoff though, as Penny brings the ball forward into Chaplin. Chaplin out wide to put a ball into the middle. Backwards to Morsey first, then to Harper, who's got plenty of time to shoot. No one closing him down. And that's a really well-placed shot. Just as I was saying we were doing so well. Okay, well, it was a highlight straight from kickoff once again. If we can get an instant reply out there, that would be amazing. As Finn Stevens finds Aaron Hayden into James Jones, back to Aaron Hayden, forward to Finn Stevens, into James Jones, into Alexander, who is now through and can't quite do what Harper did for them. Come on, lads. I believe in us. We can do it. I know we can. However, a few players not playing particularly well, Medford Smith being one of them. Obviously, he signed a new contract with us recently to take him another season into the future with us, which would be quite good. Finn Stevens having a bad game too, but we can't really take him off. In fact, the whole defence is not playing brilliantly. Street off for Kofi Bulmer. It's a risk, but Paul Mullen's going to come off for Rob Street here. And I think we make him a target forward on attack. He's 6'2". Let's try and use his height. I mean, maybe when we need a goal, the answer isn't going to come from a young striker who struggled to score in the division below us. But Mullen's doing nothing this game. We may as well change up our style of play a little bit and see if we can just get something out of it. Maybe. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? He's not going to score a goal. I mean, we're in that scenario already, weren't we? We've got to try and switch it up just a little bit as Edwards comes forwards for Ipswich, cuts back into Morsey, who can get it back forwards. Good interception, though, from our player. Stevens clears it to Rob Street, who wins possession. Great through ball to George Alexander. Rob Street may have just got us not an equaliser. I mean, I do feel quite aggrieved. 12 shots to Ipswich's 4 shots. We deserve something out of this game. We deserve the win. We deserve the win today, but this is why Ipswich are going to win the league title. They are a very good team, and they've really proved it in the second half of the season as we've dropped off, I would say. But still, it doesn't quite... It feels horrible still, the fact that we have lost that game despite being absolutely dominant in terms of match stats. And so with 11 games to go this season, it leaves us 13 points adrift, which is a lot of goals adrift. I still think we're going to be good enough for playoffs this season. 8 points behind MK Dons now. That's also quite a big gap. But Crewe catching up. Derby within 10 points once again. I don't know. I don't think third is safe. I think top 5 definitely. But every episode I'm extending it from top 2 easy to top 3 to top 5. It's going down a little bit. Next episode though, I want to come back for... It's going to be a quick one to be fair. I want to come back for Plymouth and I want to come back for Millwall because in the end of March we have the youth intake day. And our youth intake preview is looking rather nice by looks of things. It cuts itself off at the top weirdly a little bit, but it does say excellent youth intake supposedly. We've got a great winger coming through, maybe. Some good centre mids and strikers. I mean, it could be a very nice day. Annoyingly, we could do with some great attacking midfielders and wing-backs, but wing-backs, apparently none of them are coming through, and attacking midfielders are on an E, so that's not great. But we could maybe retrain a winger to become a wing-back. So fingers crossed that youth intake is going to be really good for us, and I will see you for that in tomorrow's episode. But until then, I hope you guys have a lovely evening. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, basically. So if you did, make sure you drop a like on the video for me, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and leave a comment down below for the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.